Welcome to Little Shop of Writers. I'm your hostess, Professor M. Anderson. This is the 6th lesson in my new web series of short, informative writing videos. Learn more about me and my workshops at www.littleshopofwriters.org. Lesson 6. Who, whom, whose. Whom. Probably not what you'd expect an owl to say. And in the good old US of A, probably not what you'd expect to hear your friends say either. Most Americans prefer to use who as the object pronoun. For example, who did you go to the movies with last night? Sally doesn't remember who she gave the tickets to. In both sentences, whom should be used instead of who, but to your ear, the sentences probably sound correct. Just the same, it's good to know the proper English way to write and speak. Who can predict? You just may receive an invite from the Queen to fly across the pond and share a pot of tea. To understand how and when to use who, whom, and whose, it's first necessary to know the difference between subjects, objects, and possessive forms of subjects and objects. Not as difficult as it sounds. Subjects do an action. Who threw the ball? He threw the ball. Who caught the ball? She caught the ball. Who cheered? We cheered from the snack bar. Objects receive an action. Dogs like whom? Dogs like him. Cats follow whom? Cats follow her. Mom avoids bringing Dad to the zoo with whom? With us. Possessive forms tell us the person something belongs to. Whose feet smell cheesy? His feet smell cheesy. Whose hair has a mind of its own? Her hair has a mind of its own. Whose humor is contagious? Our humor is contagious. Therefore, use who to ask which person performs an action or which person is a certain way. Who is going to tell the best joke? Who is the funniest comedian? Both questions can be answered with he, she, we, or they. Use whom to ask which person receives an action. Joe is voting for her. I blame us. Hilda chose him. Each of these questions can be answered with an object pronoun, him, her, us. Whose indicates possession. Whose cell phone is ringing? However, do not confuse whose with the contraction who is. Who's rude? Many of us are, from time to time. Whose and whose sound the same, but have very different meanings. Whose is a contraction of who plus is. We'll review contractions and homonyms in a future lesson. Who, whom, and whose are also used in indirect questions. Indirect questions usually start with a phrase like, I'm not sure, or he doesn't remember, or we don't care. Ignore that part of the sentence and look at the indirect question. I'm not sure who the guitar player is for this old band. Subject of indirect question. He doesn't remember whom they invited backstage. Object of indirect question. We don't care whose tour bus used to be an ambulance. Whose shows possession of the tour bus. Adjective clauses are used to describe a noun in the main sentence. Ignore the main sentence and look at the adjective clause when deciding whether to use who, whom, or whose. We know the monster, main sentence. Who starred in the movie? Subject of adjective clause. They munched on the men, main sentence. Whom they stole money from. Object of adjective clause. He frightened the woman, main sentence, whose yacht he borrowed. Whose shows possession of the yacht. Well, there you have it. Who, whom, and whose. And even if you don't often use whom, or you decide to decline the Queen's invite to tea, perhaps someone else might prompt you to use proper English. Shaken or stirred? Whom do you prefer? Me, bonds 1 and 6. Well, I guess that adds up to 7. 007. Hope you have enjoyed this lesson. If so, please subscribe to the Little Shop of Writers channel here on YouTube and come back often for more writing tips. If you're in the South Florida area, you may want to take one of my workshops. If you're not local, there are also online sessions available. Check them out at www.littleshopofwriters.org. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.